always bullied every day. He was just an outcast. Yeah. I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays, so they're going to see someone like that, and they're going to target him because they think it's funny or whatever. So it's the best way I can describe it. And it's honestly kind of sad. Like, I don't want to say this is what provoked it, but you never know.
And you said he was a loner?
Yeah. I want to say he was a loner more because he was quiet, but like he was just bullied. Like he was bullied so much. He was just made fun of, I guess, for the way he dressed or his appearance.
How did he dress?
Like they were just saying jeans. He'd wear hunting outfits sometimes. He would always wear a mask even after COVID.
All right, guys, so I am here to inform you that, unfortunately, the mainstream liberal media and the Democrat Party civil war is officially over. Following the failed assassination attempt of former President Trump, the mainstream liberal media is going to go back to being an arm of the Democrat Party. And you're going to see that happen over the next few weeks or so, because at least up until now, the mainstream liberal media has attacked Joe Biden since he laid an egg at that debate. But the reason why they are attacking Joe Biden, they're covering his cognitive decline. They're actually being fair and honest. They're doing journalism. It's not because they want to do it. It's because they do not want Trump to win. And they see Joe Biden as a weak candidate that needs to step aside so that somebody with a better chance can actually beat Trump. Okay? So in a sense, they never stopped being an arm of the Democrat Party. They were just working on behalf of Democrats that wanted to pressure Joe Biden to get out of the race. Okay? They were being used, okay, for the purposes that the Democrat elites want them to fulfill at this time, which is to throw Joe Biden out of the White House, right? This is what they want. They want Joe Biden out of the White House. However, Joe Biden has been defiant and he is stuck to his guns. He says he's not going to step down. And now all of a sudden, following this failed assassination attempt on Trump, the Democrats have decided that, you know what, we're going to back down from trying to overthrow Joe Biden. Okay, this is what they're doing because they want to rally around Joe Biden in the wake of what happened to former President Trump.
With the pulling of ads, are you indicating that Joe Biden is changing other plans for the week ahead?
Not at this point, Margaret, we don't know. The other element of all this, of course, is his own political future. As we've reported, just an hour before this incident, before the president was going to his Saturday night mass in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, just before the former president was shot in Pennsylvania, he was in the midst of what's been described to us as a defensive, angry call with dozens of House Democratic lawmakers raising concerns about his political prospects. He was defensive, we're told, in that conversation. And while the conversation about his future may be suspended for now, in the words of one lawmaker, it may resume again if he, quote, has another episode.
Though
Margaret?
I've been speaking...
Go ahead. We just have to wrap quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. I've been speaking with some top Democrats. They believe that those Democrats who have the concerns about President Biden are now standing down politically, will back President Biden because of this fragile political moment. All of that talk about the debate faded almost instantly among my top Democratic sources as this unfolded. Say it's time for the country to stick together, and that means Democrats sticking together as well.
Yeah. So the key that I want you guys to focus on there is that all of the attention instantly was taken off of the debate and Joe Biden because that's what they were talking about up until this point. And now it is all on Trump. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be that way because the president almost died. He was almost killed, right? Obviously, this should be the number one news story in the world, and it is. However, Democrats are understanding that politically speaking, this is a chance for them to regroup because now the attention is off of them. It is back on Trump. And best believe they want to keep it on Trump, right? And here comes the media who is going to do the Democrats' bidding as they always do by spinning a narrative to make it okay to get back to business as usual, which is Democrats and the mainstream liberal media relentlessly attacking Trump, which is why you're seeing the media do mental gymnastics in order to try to make it Trump's fault that there was an attempt on his life. Like, for example, the mainstream liberal media is talking about Trump's rhetoric, and somehow, some way, Trump's rhetoric has contributed to this failed assassination attempt happening.
Also, George, we have to point out, no matter who the shooter, what the shooter's motives were, no matter who the shooter is, you are going to hear conspiracy theories going forward.
No question about that. But as you point out, those statements from J.D. Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy, of course, President Trump and his supporters have contributed to this violent rhetoric as well.
Well, absolutely, George. We were just looking back this morning at some of the things that former President Trump has said. He warned last March of potential death and destruction if he were charged by the Manhattan District Attorney. Our country is being destroyed as they tell us to be peaceful. Trump in January warned of bedlam in the country if the criminal charges against him succeeded. And of course, in March, he said, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That will be the least of it. He said he was partly joking and that was taken out of context. But those are indeed his words. And you have heard it from supporters as well. And supporters are certainly in some parts angry. And let's remember January 6th. In so many ways for the campaign, January 6th will probably be in the background after yesterday's event. This is a very difficult time for this campaign. I'm sure this week in Milwaukee that President Trump will highlight this, and President Biden is going to have to figure out how to go forward with his campaign and what exactly they say.
Martha Raddatz, thanks very much. Let's bring in.
Wow. So what you have here, guys, is the mainstream liberal media, instead of giving honest commentary about how more than likely this individual was a radicalized leftist that tried to assassinate the president, because that is the only theory that would actually make sense, unless you're actually pushing a conspiracy theory, which would be that somehow, some way, this guy is far right, okay, or that Trump was targeted for not being conservative enough, which is exactly what MSNBC is going to put out there, which is funny because them saying that there's a possibility that Trump was targeted for not being conservative enough, aka far right enough, would be an acknowledgement that Trump is in fact not far right, right? This is what they would have to admit, right? So again, what you're seeing here is a sleight of hand from the media in order to try to both sides this, because they just refuse to acknowledge the reality that a vast majority of the political violence in this country is coming from the left, and this is more than likely just another act of political violence coming from the left.
Tom, you've been working on this all night and since it happened. Tell us the latest on the investigation. What more do we know about the alleged shooter? Do they still think that he was a lone shooter, that no one else was involved? And are they going through his social media? This is a young man. He must have been online.
Well, you would think so, Andrea, and I'll just pick up right on the social media component of this. According to law enforcement officials we've spoken to, this individual had a very, very limited presence on social media. We just got word from a statement from Discord, which is a social media network. They say that they did identify an account belonging to him, but he said that apparently he hardly used that account. There was no reference to the shooting, no reference to any sort of violence. So that's from the company Discord. We've gone through any other potential social media posts. We don't see anything of any sort of significance whatsoever.
AKA it's been wiped away already, okay? Because, again, this is what they're trying to do. They're now going to try to spin the narrative that, oh, this wasn't the fault of the left. This didn't happen because of our rhetoric. This didn't happen because we were calling Trump Hitler. This happened for other reasons, right? This is what they're trying to do because they want to get back to business as usual. Now that the Democrats are not kicking out Biden anymore, at least not for now, again, they have to go back to their bread and butter, which is to be Trump deranged 24/7. But again, it's going to be hard to do that when you have this attempted assassination on Trump. So what they're going to do, again, is that they're going to try to spin this narrative to try to say that, no, this wasn't one of our guys. So therefore, our rhetoric, we're not responsible for this. This is somebody that was far right. This was some conservative Republican, right? This is what they're going to do. This was a Trumper. This is the type of gaslighting they're going to try to do, guys. This was Trump's fault. This is what they're doing. Well, why are they doing this? Again, because they want to get back to attacking Trump. they're not going to allow this assassination attempt to boost Trump's numbers even more. They don't want to do that. So they're going to try to pour cold water on it and try to make it seem like, no, this was one of Trump's guys, right? This was his own fault, so you shouldn't feel bad for him, right? This isn't anything to rally behind. That's what they're doing, right? This is the sleight of hand.
He really has a very limited footprint out there. And we do know that he is registered, according to Pennsylvania voter registry records, a registered Republican. There's this $15 donation to a Democratic cause that some folks have said, well, that's not him because it says it's Pittsburgh, not Bethel Park, where he's from. In fact, if you look at the actual FEC record, Andrea, it corresponds directly to him, his address, in the zip code. It's just the city that's off. So, again, not a significant donation, only $15. So,
well, I mean, it is significant in the sense that if you're trying to speculate on what his political identity is, which is what you're doing, right? He's going to admit that this is what we're doing because we want to tell people this guy is some far-right lunatic, okay, instead of some left-wing lunatic. This is what they really want to do. No, I mean, that actually is very significant. Why is it very significant? Is because anybody can register as a Democrat or a Republican. That doesn't mean anything when it comes to what your ideology is, because Republican is a party, not an ideology, okay? Democrat is a party, not an ideology. You can have a liberal Republican. In fact, we do. I know some. Anna Navarro, Alyssa Farah Griffin, Michael Steele, the Lincoln Project. These are all liberal Republicans who are also extremely Trump deranged, okay? Which would indicate that Trump derangement in the rhetoric around Trump, the constant derangement around Trump, can contribute to somebody who's a registered Republican deciding to commit this act of violence, right? Again, this is basic stuff. Just like you can have a conservative Democrat. All these things can happen. But that $15 donation to a progressive Democrat cause is actually a strong indicator of what his political ideology might be, because I'm not giving my money to any ideology politically that I disagree with. Nobody does that. So again, him donating money, giving actual funds to a progressive cause is much more of an indicator of his ideology and what he may believe than him registering Republican or whatever else the mainstream liberal media will say. But that doesn't stop them from speculating that this guy could be far right.
What is this person's, what is their background? What is their ideology, if you will? It could certainly be politically motivated. We know the rhetoric in this country. We know how individuals approach this. There's been so many things said about Donald Trump that are negative. There are some people that don't think Donald Trump is conservative enough. There's a whole gamut.
Okay, what he's saying is that there are some people who don't think that Trump is actually far right. So again, I'm glad you're acknowledging that Trump is not far right, right? Thank you, right? So next time you call Trump far right, just replay this clip and remind people that MSNBC thinks that there's a chance that the shooter could be somebody who thinks that Trump is not far right, right? This is what they're doing. Now, again, why do I have a problem with this? It's not that I think it's out of bounds to speculate that the shooter could be far right. But my issue is that they never do this when it comes to situations where a Democrat is subject to political violence, right? They never speculate that maybe, just maybe, the person that did it is far left. Maybe they're upset that the Democrat wasn't far left enough. Like what happened with Nancy Pelosi. Paul Pelosi, really. I mean, because Paul Pelosi was the person that was attacked, even though the attacker was actually going after Nancy Pelosi. But in that case, there's zero evidence that that guy that attacked Paul Pelosi is MAGA or a Trump supporter. There's zero evidence, none whatsoever. But there's plenty of evidence that he was at least far left when it comes to social issues, right? Plenty of evidence. And if you're far left when it comes to social issues, then you are not a conservative, right? You're not a conservative. And you're probably not a Trump supporter either. Okay? So just based off those things that, okay, yeah, this guy definitely is not a conservative. But that didn't stop the media from saying that this guy was far right. This guy's some radicalized Trump supporter that attacked Nancy Pelosi. They never considered the possibility that it could be a far leftist, although we have evidence that far leftists will attack Democrats for not being far left enough. Prime example being the Israel-Palestine protests, right? The pro-Palestine rioters are literally attacking Democrats for not being far left enough on that issue. So we've seen this. We've seen it. But again, what did the media speculate? They never considered that the guy was a far leftist. That was never considered. But when it comes to this attempted assassination of Trump, now they want to consider, oh, well, he could be to the right of Trump. Again, why are they doing this? Well, the reason why they're doing this is because they know that it's going to be extremely hard to attack Trump following this assassination attempt, especially if the shooter is a far leftist, because they can be accused credibly of sparking violence, of encouraging violence when they go out here and they call Trump Hitler, when they exaggerate about the things that Trump says at his rallies. And that's the last thing they want. The last thing they want is to be handicapped when it comes to how they can attack Trump. So what they're trying to do is that they're trying to now change the narrative and try to make it seem like this shooter was actually somebody that's far right. So now all of a sudden they can say, nah, we didn't have anything to do with that. Us calling Trump Hitler had nothing to do with this, so we can freely do it in good conscience. That's what's happening here, guys. That's what's happening.
Of feelings and what people think about Donald Trump. And so is that what motivated this person? Certainly, obviously, a possibility.
Wow. So what you have here, guys, is the trick from the mainstream liberal media, like I told you guys to be aware of, that they're now trying to find a way to get back to business as usual and attacking Trump, okay? And again, Democrats, they're rallying around Joe Biden. And the media, they're going to ignore this story now because it seems unlikely they're going to be able to get Biden out of the race. So now all of a sudden, Biden's cognitive decline is not going to be a big deal anymore, right? Unless he messes up again in a way that the media can't cover up, like at the next debate. But unless something like that happens, yeah, they're going back to business as usual. They're going to start attacking Trump again. They don't care that their rhetoric potentially cost the president his life. They don't care about that. All they care about is beating Trump. That's what they care about. And I think that's what you're seeing here in regards to why they are speculating conspiracy theories that somehow this shooter is some right-wing radical or Trump supporter or a conservative, which, again, just makes no sense. But this is what they're pushing out here to the masses that they believe are stupid. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.